airstrikes, and agendas, the deep state's latest distraction. Welcome back to Truth Bombs with Tucker. Another day, another U.S. military intervention in the Middle East. But what a surprise, it comes right on schedule, just in time to shift the conversation away from the economic disaster unfolding at home. But before we break down the real story behind these airstrikes, because trust me, the mainstream media won't, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Because if there's one thing they hate more than accountability, it's an audience that isn't swallowing their narrative. Let's start with the obvious question. Why now? Is it because the Houthis are a new threat? Is it because the U.S. suddenly discovered the importance of securing shipping lanes? Or more likely, is it because Washington needed a distraction? The timing couldn't be more convenient. Inflation is climbing. Border crossings are at record highs. The economy is a mess. The American people are starting to wake up and ask real questions. So, what does the administration do? Start a war. This is a well-worn playbook. It's what failing administrations always do when they need to appear strong while covering up domestic failures. Trump, as usual, cuts right through the nonsense. Unlike the career politicians, he actually says what's happening. The United States has launched decisive and powerful strikes against Houthi militants in Yemen. We will use overwhelming lethal force until they stop their attacks on cargo ships and free up shipping lanes in the region. Translation: this isn't about diplomacy. This is about making the statement. And while the establishment pretends this is about international law and coalitions, Trump puts it in plain English. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. The media will twist this into another reckless Trump escalation, but let's be clear, this is a direct challenge to the global order. Because for decades, the U.S. has allowed these rogue forces to push boundaries, and now someone finally says enough. So who wins in all of this? Not the American people, not the troops. The biggest winners, as always, are the defense contractors. The Houthis have choked off shipping in one of the most important waterways of the world, grinding vast swaths of global commerce to a halt and attacking the core principle of freedom of navigation upon which international trade and commerce depends. Sounds serious, right? But here's the thing, these companies thrive on crises like this. Every missile fired, every drone deployed, every prolonged engagement funnels billions into their pockets. You ever notice how there's never money for border security, for infrastructure, for middle-class relief, but when a foreign conflict arises, the cash flows like a waterfall? They don't want this solved. They want it to drag out, and they will ensure it does. A military source confirmed to The Hill what many suspected. This is not a one-day event. This is the first of many days, if not weeks, of strikes. Weeks? So much for this being a measured response. What we are seeing here is the beginning of another open-ended campaign, one that will conveniently keep the defense industry thriving while politicians deliver patriotic speeches about protecting the world. The media will tell you this is a necessary intervention. They will repeat the administration's talking points, word for word. And they will never ask the real question: who profits from this? Notice how they all use the same language, phrases like measured response, global security, and defensive action, almost as if they got a memo. Meanwhile, the journalists who actually try to ask real questions, silenced, deplatformed, labeled as conspiracy theorists. This is how the system controls narratives. It's how they convince everyday Americans that every conflict, every intervention, every war is somehow necessary for your safety. There's another group that will pay the price for these airstrikes, and it won't be the politicians in D.C. Politicians love to talk about supporting the troops when they need an excuse to send them into another unwinnable war. But when those same troops come home, broken, struggling, needing real help, suddenly the budget is too tight. And for what? A global chess match where American lives are pawns. Trump's message to the Houthis isn't vague or full of bureaucratic doublespeak. It's blunt, direct, and exactly what you'd expect from a leader who means business. Your time is up and your attacks must stop, starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. That's not the usual weak foreign policy nonsense. That's a clear warning, and if history is any guide, the Houthis better take it seriously. Predictably, Iran is already trying to spin this as an American overreach. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi fired back with his own statement. The U.S. government has no authority or business dictating Iranian foreign policy. End support for Israeli genocide and terrorism. Stop killing the Yemeni people. This is how Iran plays the game, always claiming to be the victim while backing proxy wars across the region. But Trump's response? Direct and unapologetic. Do not threaten the American people, their president, who has received one of the largest mandates in presidential history, or worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because America will hold you fully accountable and we won't be nice about it. So, what's next? More strikes. Another necessary intervention. More taxpayer dollars thrown at problems half a world away while our own country falls apart. If history is any guide, the answer is yes. Because the people running the show aren't interested in peace. They're interested in perpetual war. The first step is to stop buying the lies. Stop believing that every military action is about defense when it's really about money and power. And more importantly, stop letting these people convince you that their wars are somehow in your best interest. They're not. The only way to break the cycle is to start asking real questions and making sure the people in power don't get away with this forever. Which is why I need you to like, subscribe, and share this video. Because if we don't expose the truth, nobody else will. Stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay American. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.